Good evening. The palace reminds Vice President Sara Duterte, who is currently in The Hague, Netherlands, that she must continue fulfilling her responsibilities as the country's second highest official. In a briefing on Wednesday, March 19, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro says the Vice President must consider that the country also needs her as the Vice President.
Tingin ko dapat po isipin po niya na kailangan din po siya ng Pilipinas bilang Vice Presidente. Siya po dapat ay nagtatrabaho hindi lang para sa kanyang ama, although na acceptable po at maiintindihan po natin sa ngayon ang kanyang nararamdaman. Pero tandaan niyo po niya, sinasabi niya po, milyon na Pilipino ang bumoto sa kanya at kailangan din po niyang pagsilbihan ito.
The Vice President is attending to her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, who was sent to The Hague, Netherlands, to face the International Criminal Court over his alleged crimes against humanity. The office of the Vice President is once again under scrutiny after more alleged fake receipts of confidential funds, some with names seemingly inspired by food, were uncovered amid ongoing questions about non-existent beneficiaries. The list of questionable names include J. Camote and Miggy Mango. In the same briefing, Castro says this needs to be investigated as the public deserves to know where their taxes go.
Kung ito man po ay na-discovery po, siguro po mas paigtingin pa po talaga ang pag-iimbestiga patungkol po dito. Bakit po? Kasi karapatan po ng taong bayan malaman kung saan po talaga ginagasta ang pera, no? Ang pondo ng bayan, ang kaba ng bayan, kung saan po nadadala. Kung inaman po ay na-discovery po, dapat po rin patunayan. Kasi as of the moment, nasabihin pa rin po natin, may presumption of regularity patungkol dyan. Pero, since nako-question nga po ito, dapat lamang pong patunayan ni VP Sara kung ang mga resibong ito ay totoo o hindi.
Aside from this issue, Vice President Duterte is also set to face an impeachment trial after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s fourth State of the Nation address in July. In an interview after her father's appearance before the ICC pre-trial chamber last Friday, March 14, Vice President Duterte said she would not return to the Philippines until her father's legal team is formed and another relative joins them in The Hague. Senator Bato Dela Rosa is now considering hiding from arresting officers once a warrant of arrest from the International Criminal Court against him is issued. In a phone interview with reporters on Wednesday, March 19, De La Rosa says aside from seeking refuge in the Senate, he is also exploring other courses of action in case the Supreme Court issues a final ruling on his petition. The senator has asked the High Tribunal to stop the government from assisting the ICC's investigation into the Duterte administration's war on drugs. When asked if hiding is one of his options, the senator says that it is included in the possible courses of action he can take. De La Rosa explains his statement, saying that if justice can't be found in the country, then why would he surrender? He adds that he will evaluate his choices if he sees a glimmer of hope that the Supreme Court will truly stand by its independence and if the Senate will also take its firm stand. When asked if it means he would stay longer in the Senate to avoid an arrest, De La Rosa says most likely. Although thinking of going into hiding, the senator made it clear that he would not resist arrest. After Duterte's arrest last week, the senator spoke about his readiness to join Duterte at the ICC prison so he could also take care of Duterte, who will turn 80 years old this month. But De La Rosa now doubts if he could take care of the former president, noting how difficult for Duterte's own children to visit him at The Hague. De La Rosa was Duterte's first Philippine National Police Chief during his administration. De La Rosa spearheaded the war on drugs that left thousands of people killed. The palace says former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque should defend himself first before defending others. Roque, who is currently at The Hague, Netherlands, previously announced that he will seek political asylum there. This comes amid the human trafficking case he is facing before the Department of Justice and the warrant for his arrest issued by the House of Representatives. In a briefing on Wednesday, March 19, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro was asked whether the government would block Roque's application for political asylum in the Netherlands. Castro offers a piece of advice for the former presidential spokesperson.
Sa ngayon po, siguro nabalitaan nyo na po na hindi na po makakasama si Atty. Harry Roque bilang parte ng legal team ni dating Pangulong Duterte. Siguro po, kung sinabi man niya na nandoon siya, hindi siya uuwi dahil i-represent niya ang kanyang presidente, mas maganda po siguro na unahin niya munang i-represent yung sarili niya, ipagtanggol ang sarili niya bago magtanggol ng ibang tao.
With regard to Roque's requests for asylum, Castro says that Palace will only react once a warrant of arrest has been issued.
Well, anyway, patungkol po sa kanyang asylum, kapag po siguro mayroon ng warrant of arrest at kung siguro pong may kaso na po talaga siyang kriminal na kakaharapin po sa korte, dyan lang po na magre-react ang palasyo.
ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro said on Tuesday, March 18, that the Makabayan Bloc will urge the House of Representatives Quad Committee to counter Roque's application for asylum in the Netherlands. Representative Castro also said Roque has to answer pending issues related to the 4 panels investigation of his alleged link to Philippine offshore gaming operators. Roque was cited for contempt by the Quad Committee last September 2024 after he refused to submit documents that were deemed essential to the investigation of his alleged link to Pogos. But on March 14, Roque was cited with Vice President Sara Duterte and Senator Robin Padilla in The Hague, the Netherlands, where former President Rodrigo Duterte is currently detained as he faces charges before the International Criminal Court. Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla says former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque is a non-entity in former President Rodrigo Duterte's case at the International Criminal Court. In a briefing on Wednesday, March 19, Remulla was asked about Roque's role in The Hague, Netherlands, where former President Rodrigo Duterte is currently detained due to his pending case before the ICC. Remulla says that Roque is trying to put himself on the issue.
Actually, he's a non-entity in this drama. He's a non-entity. He's the one trying to put his face in the picture. But he's a non-entity as far as I'm concerned.
In the same briefing, the Justice Secretary was asked to comment on Roque's pronouncement that he will seek political asylum in the Netherlands. Remulla once again reiterates that Duterte's former spokesperson is irrelevant. He adds that Roque's issue is human trafficking and that he should face the charges against him.
He's irrelevant here. He's irrelevant. He just sinisiksik niya yung mukha niya para maging relevant siya. Hindi naman siya kailangan dito. Ang pinag-uusapan dito, human trafficking. Yung mga akusasyon sa kanya.
Sabi niya,
Wala siya kinalaman dito. Wala kaming sa politika sa kanya. Walang bilang. Wala sa bilang sa politika. Harapin niya yung kung ano man ang sinasakdal sa kanya, harapin niya.
Roque is currently facing human trafficking complaints before the DOJ over his alleged active participation in the operations of the scam hub Lucky South 99 in Porac, Pampanga. Remulla also says the complaints against Roque are still under evaluation by a panel of prosecutors. Prior to Roque's appearance in the Netherlands, he had been in hiding due to an arrest order from the House of Representatives Quad Committee, which cited him for contempt and ordered his detention for failing to submit documents that would supposedly justify his sudden increase in wealth. The Department of Justice is more than sufficient to defend the government over former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest by the International Criminal Court, according to Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla. Remulla's statement comes after Solicitor General Menardo Guevara's decision to recuse himself from the consolidated habeas corpus cases filed by Duterte's children before the Supreme Court. According to Remulla, Guevara's recusal was not on his clearance. And the Office of the Solicitor General is an attached agency of the DOJ. Despite Guevara's recusal from the case, Remulla says the DOJ will be more than sufficient to defend the government in the matter.
His refusal was not on my clearance. He does not clear things with me. But of course, I consider it a personal reason. And if he did not want to use the Office of the Solicitor General, that's his own reason. Because I think that the resources of the government should not be wasted in a time like this. I think that we have to put the best leader minds to work. But the DOJ will be more than sufficient to defend the position of the Republic in this matter.
When asked if he believed in Guevara's explanation that his reason for refusing to represent the government was institutional rather than personal, Remulla responded that he was not convinced.
thrown by that, but it's okay. I will not argue with Mr. Guevara. I will not argue with him. He has recused himself, so we will take up the slack.
Remulla then refuses to comment on the possible resignation or replacement of Guevara. According to Remulla, he has no plans to talk to Guevara about his decision as the DOJ now has to move on and prepare for the possible oral arguments before the High Court. The Justice Chief also reiterates his belief that Duterte's case is already a done deal as he's now facing charges before the ICC in The Hague. It was in a manifestation before the High Court that Guevara reiterated his stance that the ICC is prohibited from exercising jurisdiction over the country as the reason why he recused from the petitions of habeas corpus for Duterte. The ICC currently has custody of Duterte after he was arrested and sent to The Hague for crimes against humanity he allegedly committed during his administration's bloody war against drugs. The palace says the government is considering regulating social media posts amid the spread of misinformation and disinformation in the wake of former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest and surrender to the International Criminal Court. In a briefing on Wednesday, March 19, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro says discussions are underway for the possible release of new guidelines for the measure. Castro emphasizes that the government alone cannot address the issue. She says that a whole-of-nation approach is needed to stop the spread of fake news.
Opo, yan na po talagang pinag-uusapan natin ngayon. At kinakailangan din po ng pamahalaan yung tinatawag nating whole-of-nation approach. Hindi lamang po pamahalaan ang siyang magsasaayos po nito. Lahat po tayo ay dapat tulong-tulong para po maiwasan po natin, matanggal po natin ang lahat mga fake news.
Castro laments that even the Supreme Court has become a victim of fake news. Last week, there were social media posts about the false claims on the High Court's issuance of a temporary restraining order on former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest and the petition seeking the resignation of President Bongbong Marcos. Castro earlier said the Presidential Communications Office is coordinating with the National Bureau of Investigation and the Philippine National Police to investigate fake news peddlers. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.